I am giving you $100 million, which basically just makes the math easy. You have $100 million to divvy up to whoever you want to in Tennessee's athletic department. How are you divvying up $100 million of NIL money? Because we can all say that it's supposed to help everybody, but we all know it's helping football way more than anybody else. Should it be helping the Lady Vols? John?
No. What do I? That's $100 million. Do I get that in my account? How would that work?
Yeah, so you just keep it. It's like an auto draft.
Oh yeah, well I'm just gone. I just suddenly go dark, never heard from again. Yeah. But if I can't do that, okay, I would divvy it up. I would probably give 70% of it to football because with $70 million, can you imagine the team you could field? You'd be a dominant power. You'd get Nick Saban out of retirement.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I would give 20 million to Tony Vitello for baseball.
You just skipped over basketball.
Yeah. I'll tell you why. I think Tony Vitello is one of the hardest working coaches I've ever seen. I think he's a great evaluator of talent. You give him that kind of money because money goes a long way in baseball. I mean, these guys don't even get full scholarships. He would have a dynasty. He would win 5 or 6 national titles. He could beat some major league teams. And then, yeah, Dave,
John.
Yeah. Have you seen the Pirates lately?
I haven't.
No, you haven't. Nobody watches them. And so, okay, I've still got 10%. I would give it to the men's basketball program because Rick Barnes, as Caleb has pointed out, and I agree with wholeheartedly, develops talent. He doesn't need a bunch of superstars. He'll turn them into stars, just like he did with Grant Williams. Do you think Grant Williams, if they had the NIL era, do you think people would have been throwing around a lot of money to sign him? I don't. And Dalton Connect came here. He's determined he wants to be the best player he can be. He wants to excel in the NBA. And that's why he came to Tennessee. He didn't come here because of an NIL deal. I'm sure he got one, but he didn't come here because of that. He knew Rick Barnes could make him better. And that would enhance his chances of not just making the NBA, but being a star maybe in the NBA. So that's how I would divvy it up. So now you're winning national championships in football and in baseball regularly with that kind of money.
Okay, that skips over basketball. That surprises me. Caleb, you have $100 million.
No, wait a minute. I gave it 10%. I'm giving it $10 million.
Oh, okay. So you gave, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. So you gave football 70, basketball.
Baseball 20 and basketball
20. And see, okay. I mean, you got $10 million. What are you signing? I mean, 5 players. You only got 13 to 15 players on the team. Everybody's making it.
I think Caleb John's assuming you get a Rick Barnes discount like the Nick Saban discount. I don't think that's necessarily the case. But Caleb, how would you spend $100 million?
So, John, I disagree.
Well, I knew you would. Of course you do. You're a contrarian.
First of all, I would go 90% football. I would legitimately go 90% football. And now with NIL for basketball, that is going to leave less for men's basketball. But John, the reason I would put more for men's basketball than baseball is even though you're right, Rick Barnes doesn't need to recruit the 5-star talent. I would give Rick Barnes the NIL money on a condition, which is this money is to be spent on keeping players, on getting them to return instead of going early to the NBA rather than recruiting new talent. Does that make sense?
It does. Makes it more complicated. I would say.
Well, okay, no, what I mean is like, okay, so I would take 90 for football, 8% for men's basketball.
8?
Yeah, so I'm at 98%. I'm sorry, I care about the revenue generating sports. and
Don't.
and then
Yeah.
1% for baseball and 1% for women's basketball. There you go.
All right.
I've got it.
Be sure and hit that like and subscribe button if you would not spend any money on non-revenue sports, because I would not. I would spend 100% of the cash money, homie, on football until it wins a national championship. Then I've got $250 million to play with, because more money comes pouring in, just like it did at the University of Alabama. So that's why you're both wrong.
That's crazy.
100 million.
I was
all to football.
90%.
Yeah, but
I mean,
it could cost you one player. John, what do you think about my approach?
I don't agree with it, because I'm not sure if you could get, well, I see the logic behind it. And this was I think this was my idea when we were talking yesterday. Now that I look back on it, I think this whole concept was a bad idea.
The concept
of this hypothetical of spending $100 million. I think it's kind of
we
stupid.
talked it over for 30 minutes Sunday night.
I know, but I changed my mind.
Okay. You just want to change gears here?
I don't care. Are we getting much response on this?
We're getting a ton of response. How much did you?
Yeah,
All right,
here's one that says Dave Pimpman Hooker. I mean, what kind of response is that?
I don't know what that means, but I kind of like it. The basketball team can generate a significant amount of revenue, but John, I'm of the mindset that it's about, in people's view, about what is spent currently, which is about 10% of the athletic budget. When it's compared to football, I think that, I'll ask you, would Tennessee rather make the Final Four in football or basketball? Would Tennessee fans that you talk to rather make the Final Four in football or basketball?
Football.
Caleb, it's not even close, is it?
No.
Was this question even worth posing?
Well, I wanted to take the next step. So, Final Four football, national championship basketball.
Football.
In one season, they might take national championship basketball, because I think they're feeling that very elusive. I feel like that national title in basketball feels so elusive to them. But after they got a national title in basketball, then I think they would take it in football. They'd take a Final Four in football over a second national title in basketball. How about that? But that first one just would be like so validating for the athletic program, since they've already got one in women's basketball and football. That would feel very validating.
All right, John, you bring up the Diamond Vols. I know that you've followed them closely. You've been a big baseball guy. People may not know that, because Tennessee's baseball team has been up and down since John's been at the Knoxville News Sentinel. But John, I'm curious, which sport is more popular now? Is it the Diamond Vols, or is it Lady Vols basketball? Now that not only has there been struggles, but Pat Summitt was an incredible draw as well. What is more significant, more popular?
Oh, it's not even close. It's a baseball program with Tony Vitello.
That sounds weird to me, but you've been to some of the games. They're filling the stands.
Yeah, and they've expanded the seating, and they're filling it up, and there'll be more people that can get in next year. I really believe if they wanted to go that route and make it bigger, I think they could do what LSU has done and have a 10,000 seat stadium and fill it up. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It's become a tough ticket. You have people out there in cold weather watching, 4,500 people. And there's just the enthusiasm. I hear people talking about baseball all the time. And then, as one of our tweeters noted, Tony Vitello is popular with the ladies. I won't say it the way he said it, but he is popular. He's tremendously popular. He's one of the most popular coaches Tennessee's ever had maybe the most popular.
We actually have audio from somebody on the message board. What was that about Tony Vitello?
That's hot.
Real hot is what the ladies say. I mean, over and over. Tony Vitello shows up and he's wearing one of those outfits from Dumb and Dumber, like the colored tuxedos, and the ladies still say,
That's hot.
I've never seen anybody affect women's fandom like Tony Vitello has. All right, I'll ask you this, Caleb. I'll get to you, but John, can the Lady Vols ever get back? Caleb, give that some thought to being bigger than the men as long as Vitello's there.
I don't think so. I mean, Tennessee's not interested in paying that kind of money for a women's basketball coach. I mean, it's not going to go out and give Kim Mulkey $3 million or $4 million or whatever it would take. It's just not going to do that. That's not how it goes about its business. It doesn't do that with any coaches.
Caleb,
that's what it would take. You'd have to do that. You'd have to get an elite coach. I mean, Tennessee's got lucky with coaching hires. I mean, Rick Barnes is a great example of that. He just fell in their lap.
He did, and he knew he had the job when he left the other UT. Caleb, can the Lady Vols reclaim any sort of position that they had in college basketball, but more so, can they surpass Tony Vitello in Tennessee fandom popularity? If you buy what John's selling, can they ever do that?
If the Lady Vols, and John, I said this Monday, and you may disagree, but I think the Lady Vols are held back by the Lady Vol contingency, and it's almost like a mafia where they demand that the program be ran a certain way that is so old school. It's almost like Notre Dame in football, which is why there's a reason Notre Dame hasn't won a national championship since 1988, and they are falling behind as women's basketball is getting trendy everywhere else, including at LSU, South Carolina. There's the Caitlin Clark story. You know, kind of the chippiness, the trash talking. That's something that the Lady Vols culture will never accept because it's, Pat Summitt. It was, I said it yesterday, they want to make women's basketball a gentleman, I guess a ladies game, not a fun, exciting game the way Tennessee is making baseball. And I don't think they're accepting that they need to change with the times and make it more trendy and make it more fun and embrace the beef between coaches and players, because LSU and South Carolina in women's basketball, Dawn Staley versus Kim Mulkey is going to be a storyline for years to come because they clearly don't like each other. And I think that, and then if you want to go for looks, because Tony Vitello, someone just pointed it out, go hire the Grand Canyon University coach Molly Miller. That will get people in the stands.
Yeah, she's a looker, by the way. John, she's doing all right for herself. With these, I think the thing that you have to factor in is even if they went out and hired a Kim Mulkey, they're not going to hire a Pat Summitt, who was so beloved by this community, who rarely ever, I guess the one not playing UConn, we could call that a misstep, but didn't have any PR missteps that I'm aware of. Even if they hired a Kim Mulkey, they're not getting a Pat Summitt. I think they could get to the point where they're really, truly competing for championships again, but winning multiples, John, I don't see that happening anymore. I think the sport has also changed.
Well, no, but I mean, Kim Mulkey's won 4 national championships. Dawn Staley's won 2, could win a 3rd this year. I mean, the great coaches in that sport are still going to win multiple championships. If you put Kim Mulkey at Tennessee, she'd win multiple championships. I truly believe that, because what she would do, it's not just about coaching or guarding an inbounds passer. It's about NIL money. And Pat Summitt would have been, that's why I think Pat Summitt would have done well in this era. People wouldn't like telling Pat Summitt no. If Pat Summitt asked somebody to help her with her program and say that we really need more NIL money, they would want to help her. And I think Kim Mulkey is so persuasive. People don't want to tell Kim Mulkey no either in Louisiana. She's going to get what she wants. They're probably going to have a new arena there, and she'll have a lot to do with it. So I just think that kind of coach, you're never going to have another Pat Summitt, but I think to Caleb's point about times have changed, we look at the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. I mean, who saw that coming, that a women's player could do that? But then when Dave and you bring up, you've got now with LSU and South Carolina. Why should LSU and South Carolina be great rivals in anything? I mean, they're just, there's no real history there, but you can create it automatically with just like this. The best two coaches tree there. I think it's all about coaching. It's the same way with Tennessee baseball and Tony Vitello. He's not just a really good coach. He works obsessively. He works so hard at recruiting. And he's great at marketing his program. He's great with the media. He's great with the fans. And his players pick up on that. And they're good with the fans. They're good with the media. So you build a whole program. So you could do that with Lady Vols basketball. You just got to get the right coach. But you got to be able to pay. You got to be willing to pay for it.